โอเคขออนุญาตเริ่มต้นเนาะก่อนอื่นสบายดีแล้วก็ยินดีต้อนรับเข้าสู่สัมมนาของพวกเราเนาะคือก่อนอื่นหมดท่านก็ต้องขอโทษหลายๆที่ว่าดร.พรสวรรค์หัวหน้าศูนย์โภชนาการเพิ่นบ่สามารถที่ว่ามาเป็นประธานให้พวกเราได้เนาะฉะนั้นท่านมื้อนี้แม่นพวกเราจะดำเนินการ
Hello. Did I lose somebody? Hello. Oh. Yeah. Hi, I'm back. Hello, hello.
อุ้ยผู้แปลแล้วมื้อนี้
Can you hear me? Can folks hear me?
No internet why what happened Okay sorry ต่อไปนี้พวกเราจะได้เว้าในหัวข้อที่ว่าเรื่อง food environment เนาะซึ่งว่าพวกเราได้รับเกียรตินำเสนอโดยดร. Ramya Ambikapathi เนาะซึ่งว่าเพิ่นเป็น Senior Research Scientist นี่เนาะซึ่งเพิ่นมาจาก Department of Global Development หั่นจากมหาวิทยาลัย Cornell หั่นเนาะดังนั้นต่อไปนี้เชิญดร. Ramya เพิ่นนำเสนอเลย Yeah please
Hi all. Okay. Hi everybody. Good morning. Good night. Thank you for joining at this hour. This is a similar workshop that I did in Laos. So it's going to be a very interactive session. And I know people are joining from the phone and wherever. So just feel free to put your messages. And I have the chat open so I can actually respond to them as I'm giving this presentation. Okay. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the food environments, mostly focused like on Laos, but also like the bigger context why we should care about food environment. Let me see. So today we'll do a food environment food choice activity first, and then we'll go into the background of the larger food systems context. And if I mention any of these words that you don't understand, or if you want me to explain, just please put it in the message in the chat box, and I can try to clarify those things. So just briefly about me, I am Ramya Ambikapathi. I actually have a bachelor's in environmental science, and then I have a master's and PhD in nutrition epidemiology. I worked at National Institute of Health, and then I did 2 postdocs at Harvard and Purdue, and now I'm at Cornell. So just a little bit background of my work and what I've done before. So what is food environment and why should everybody care about it? So food environment is the space where we interact and make choices about the food. So currently about 25% of the global mortality is due to diets. And we want to understand why we have such a high mortality rate. So food environment, you can think of like your markets, your stores, the way your own farms, or like your neighbors, you're gifting food. The way you acquire your food is called food environment, that interaction. And it's part of this larger system called food system. So it starts from production, like it's being produced by farmers and it's stored, transformed. Sometimes it's processed and it goes to either the grocery stores and different wholesale farm gate. And then it comes to the food environment, the markets, wet markets, where you actually purchase the food. The food environment has the Turner framework talks about how it has 2 domains: the external domain and the personal domain. We buy foods based on whether it's affordable, whether it's available, it's near us. There's a lot of like desirability, whether we like it, but how it's marketed to us. So these are all the things that affect our food choice decisions. And I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And over a period of time, our interaction with the food environment forms our habits, and that's what dictates our ultimate health and nutrition. So currently, we have about 25% of global mortality is due to dietary factors. So we want to put food in our body that nourishes us. We want to reduce mortality related to that. So when you look at the food environment, there's a social aspect, that's the desirability aspect, but there's cultural, what if you're coming from a certain region, there's a lot of different things that plays into our food choices. And then there's also the economic and physical access. So as I mentioned before, we should care about the food environment because it's responsible for multiple burden of disease, and there's large economic transformations that's driving this process called nutrition transition. Most of the food we buy is bought. I buy 80% of the food, or more than that, like 90-95%. There's hardly anything that I grow myself. And I'm just kind of curious how many people purchase daily, how many people purchase weekly, how many people have a farm, or how many people source from their home garden. You can just put it in the chat. I'm kind of curious what folks, where folks source their food. And then food environment, as I mentioned before, is a primary interaction. So we want to improve diets. We also want to improve food environment. So the choices you can make are towards healthy, nutritious foods. But it's hard to, one of the biggest challenge is to characterize it. How do you measure it in all the different places that you acquire your food? How to kind of characterize it and make sure this is healthy and unhealthy. So that's a big challenge that's actually currently ongoing in terms of understanding how to measure food environments. So in Laos, there's about 50% of adolescents are, 50% of the adolescents are consuming daily soda daily, and then at least 42% have said they have consumed fast food consumption. And then only a quarter of the adolescents are saying that they consume daily vegetables. So it's pretty low. 100% bought weekly. So I'm looking at it. 100%. So everybody's talking about. So are there any folks that are actually buying food from their? Oh, there's Terry. Yeah, most of us rely on the food environment to source our foods. So this is just some photos that we took when we went to the school food environment in rural. This is the rural school in Laos. What was interesting is that you see a lot of chips and snacks and sodas, and also like some really great fried chips as well. So just wanted to give you this like a snapshot of what we saw when we came in November last year. And then this is the urban market. So what you see immediately, there's this, for the love of it, the way it's marketed, the Coke, and it's pouring out. And it's just like all these little like things that they use, the words, the phrases, the people that they use. It's very much very enticing, and marketing plays a huge role in our desirability and forming our desirability as well. So this, okay, so this is just a quick, I'm going to go through some photos, and I'm kind of curious how people, like when you see it, what do you think about it, or what thoughts come to your mind? So it's very much an interaction. So please feel free to either put something in the chat or put something in the chat. There's no polls here. So when you look at this prepared food, does this look good to you? Does this look like lunch? Does it look like breakfast? It looks really good. Even though it's bedtime here, I would still eat it. And then what about this? If you come to a place like this, how would you choose your vegetables that you're going to eat for the day? how do you make your decisions that you're going to eat for the day? Like there's so many different varieties of vegetables here. And do you shop at this shop or this one or down the street? How do you make those decisions? Feel free to put it in chat. This is very interactive. Just fresh and convenience. Habit, I go to the same place. Yes. Diets are in some ways habitual, and sourcing is also habitual as well. Freshness and convenience. Yep. Let me go. Oh, and then beer. How do you make decisions which beer to buy? Or Laos, these are all Laotian beers. So, or there's beer Lao, Heineken, which one? Dark lager. Must be cold. Okay. I think these are just also same shopkeeper. Okay, thank you, Benita. Others, how do you decide which beer to buy? Taste and price. Oh, hi, Emily. Yep. So is beer Lao cheaper? Habit, taste, price. Okay, I'm guessing beer or Heineken cheaper. And then, okay, you're in a supermarket and this person is just really looking at have you ever been in a supermarket like this and then you're just kind of frozen and kind of trying to decide? What's that experience like? I think they're choosing between all the different snack packets. Overwhelming. Yes. Thank you. Yes, Irene. Yeah. Oh, and then this candy and like so many different kinds of candy and sauces. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the marketing, they're so good at getting your attention. And you know, their goal is for you to purchase that. So it's very overwhelming to have so many choices. It makes you tired. Yes. Oh, and what do you see in this picture? Your students, this is a school food environment. One of the things that was very interesting was when we did the school food environment, kind of going through these urban and rural schools, there was a lot of pooling of money and sharing and eating together. So there's a huge social aspect to how you make your food choice decisions and how do you source your food, especially for adolescents. So it's a big aspect that really in the context of school food environment really needs to be studied or captured better. Oops. Oh, fish. How do you make decision on fish? You're already tired from my question. All of this looks good. Which one would you choose and why? Fresh, clean. How do you assess clean, Emily? Most recently cooked. How long has it been there? No flies on it? Okay. Easiest to eat off the stick. Okay. I only trust. Okay, so we have convenience here, food safety, affecting your perception of food safety. Which one looked fresh, not sat out for a long time? That's also perception of food safety. Easy to eat without a mess. Yep, absolutely. Especially if you're on the go. Oh, and then fresh fish. How do you make? Oh, yes, that's actually the indicator I use. I use to see how many people are there, and if it's a happening place, that means it must taste good. So how do you make choices about what fresh fish to buy? Between this and this one, which one would you buy? Or does a certain family only eat certain type of fish, or maybe the region of Laos you're from kind of affects what you eat? So fresh, convenience, taste. we look at the gills and price. Yep. Bones, price. Yep. Bones. Is Kelly bones? Is that for kiddos, the young kiddos? Or do you purchase based on the taste of someone else in the family? Like someone else really likes one type. Too many bones. Price. Okay. Yep. Price is a big factor. Okay, I'll just. These were actually all photos that folks sent for the workshop. So this is really nice. Oh, also the way they raise the fish. Okay. So is that something like if it's imported, exported, or if it's farm fresh, or like if it's from sea? Also depends on the dish you make. Yep. How do you decide which vendor to buy from? If you have 2 or 3 vendors selling the same stuff, how do you decide that? Price and fresh. Oh. So lots of decision, people looking at this, what to buy, prepared food. So these are all the photos we got. Let me just go to the next activity. Oh, this photo. This one I took. When you see this, what do you think about it? Or we are like sitting in a traffic and you look at this. What do you think about it? What is this? What sort of words do you think about when you see this photo? Yeah, they look happy. And especially if you're sitting in a hot traffic, they look happy, they look cool, they have water nearby. They have beer. They look young. Bilao, yes, that's right. Bilao, it's a national identity. Yep. Yes. So it's very much so food marketing at least has a lot of it creates a lot of like desirability for us. Even if we don't ever drink beer lao ever, we desire to be young. It plays on we desire to be cool, we desire to having fun. So that's how they do all of these marketing, and it's very good. Especially if you're sitting in traffic, this just looks perfect. It's not advertised against the law. Yeah, I don't know. So now Nalan Sec mentioned that it should not advertise against the law. So food marketing advertisement is one of the really big thing that's I think a lot of people are advocating, especially in the context in Latin America, that's been kind of successful, and they're seeing different impact, especially for like, alcohol, but most so for like sugary and sweet beverages, like marketing. And I think as unhealthy food becomes very like normal and available everywhere, regulation is the only way that you can kind of control them. Yeah, having a part of the pool looks good, right? They look wealthy. I mean, look at all these things behind here. It looks like a big hotel or a house. So wealth, young, cool, and having fun. These are all things that we all desire. And when you have a food placement, that's basically what they're getting at. Even if you never drink beer, they still like the messages that we receive every day, we still process them. So let me just go to the food choice. So when we, this was an exercise I did in person. So I don't know how it'll turn out in Zoom, but let's try, and then I can show you what we did in November. So I'm kind of curious, like I need like 4 or 5 volunteers who can kind of tell me what they ate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner yesterday. And I'll just kind of write down this. And I need 4 or 5. Anybody, you can just put it in the chat. Like, what meal did you eat for breakfast? What meal did you eat for lunch? And what meal you ate for dinner? Breakfast, mustili, yogurt, peanut butter. Okay. Priyanka. Oops. What else? Lunch. Okay. Okay. A lot of yogurt. And I'm just typing the salad. And you just had a salad for, did you eat anything else? Any condiments, anything else? You just had a salad? Cherry. Uh-huh. That's for lunch? The pork, okay. Okay. Yeah. None. Okay. That's always good. We always have one of those none people. Some vegetable. Oat milk mint. Did I get everybody? Boiled egg. Rice and tofu curry. That sounds yummy. Salad with dressing. Pasta. Okay. We'll get one more. Pasta. Okay. Oh, vegetables, meat wrap. Okay. Vegetables. Okay. Meat wrap. Okay. Thank you. Wow, someone really is very good about drinking water. So the person who's been drinking water, why are they very particular about mentioning that? Let's see. Okay, I hope I got everybody. And did you mention what you had for dinner? I don't think I got. Oh, yeah, you did. Okay. So I have so Priyanka, and I'm kind of curious. So why there's a lot of yogurt. I know. Go ahead.
เจ้าสบายดีได้ยินบ่บ่ได้ยินเลยนี้ข้าพเจ้าข้อประกอบส่วนในคำเห็นที่ได้เว้าไปเมื่อกี้เนาะมื้อวานข้าพเจ้ามาห้องการตื่นเช้าข้าพเจ้ากินน้ำ1จอกแล้วมาฮอดห้องการข้าพเจ้ากินกาแฟตอนประมาณ 9 โมงหลังจากนั้นก็กินน้ำ1จอกแล้วตอนสวยกินพอดีเฮ็ดกินข้าวสวยร่วมกันกับหมู่ๆหลายคนอยู่ในห้องการก็ได้เฮ็ดแกงปลากินปลา1ถ้วยน้อยแล้วก็คั่วมีถ้วยน้อยนึงจากนั้นก็กินข้าวต้ม2คำแล้วก็กินน้ำ2จอกก็ตอนแลงกลับบ้านแล้วก็ได้กินหั่นซีนมีผักมีข้าวปุ้นมีผักหอมประมาณ7คำหลังจากนั้นก็กินน้ำ1จอกแล้วก็พักผ่อน โดยรวมมื้อวานนี้กินประมาณเท่านั้นขอบใจ
Wow. No, thank you. This is very good because I'm the person must be a nutritionist. But you know the portion size and the water. Water is something very hard to like get in the recall. And so for the others, it's kind of nice because they mentioned lunch gathering. So why do you, for the people who eat yogurt, why do you eat yogurt for morning, not for lunch or not for dinner? What about yogurt? Why do you make the choice to eat yogurt in the morning? That's Priyanka, Anne, and Jerry. Is that what you have available? It tastes good. Why do you rush hour? It's quick. Okay. Quick. It's a breakfast thing. Oh, explain. Explain what that means. It's a breakfast thing.
Is it okay if I speak? I think it's easier.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something I've done growing up. So it's habit, I guess, that breakfast, I mean, muesli with yogurt is what you eat for breakfast. And it's easy, it's quick, and that's what I do.
Yeah, it's time. Okay, so you grew up with it. A lot of our food patterns are actually set up in the way we grew up with our families. You ate yogurt because it was people said they didn't have time. There was culturally, socially, that's what you're used to. It's easy, fast, it's a habit, and you're used to it. It's considered healthy, so that also factors into your decision making. All right, and then those who didn't have any food, the none and the black coffee only people, why didn't you eat anything? Good yogurt is available in Vietnam, yeah. Good quality yogurt. Oh, intermittent fasting, yeah. It's part of the food. Are you like a 16-8, 18-4, whatever? Okay. And then for lunch, Priyanka, why did you eat the Vietnamese prep, sorry?
I just went with a colleague to the Vietnamese place and I saw the picture and it looked good. So yeah, that's why I ordered it.
Okay. And then what about Anne? Why did you eat salad with dressing?
I think I just have it available at the house and it's just part of my habit. I know it's healthy as well. Not to have a meal at lunch keeps me productive in the afternoon.
Yeah, I know. I can't eat rice at lunch. I cannot. That's just snooze central for me. Sticky rice and spicy beef. Who ate that? Rice, green curry, leaf, and dal. Why did you guys eat that? Whoever said that? Why did you eat that?
This is Vinita. I said that because this is
Oh, Vinita, I think I started hearing your voice and then it stopped. Okay, I think, all right. For the others who are, what about the rice curry, green leaf dal person? Why did you eat that for lunch? Fish soup, that was because of lunch gathering, so social. Lunch, healthy. Okay. Right. If we don't, okay. And then the people who pumpkin soup toast, why did you eat that?
It's quick. I come back after work and I'm tired, so I can't really. It's quick and healthy. Yeah.
Quick and healthy. Okay. And what about pork rice vegetable? Or veg meat wrap, 2 glasses, and rice and vegetables. And pasta. Who had pasta? Why did you have pasta for dinner? And where do you Rob, what did you have for dinner yesterday?
I had rice and vegetables.
Rice and vegetables. And oh, that's right. Why did you have rice and vegetables? Is that part of your
It was leftovers.
leftovers? Okay, that's good. Leftovers. Eating leftovers is good. Okay, so from this, like we just from this small exercise of the food choice decisions, especially in the morning, we see that it's like around the world, like our work systems are globalized, like our school systems are globalized. Everybody has 9 to 5, so we want something quick, easy, in the morning to snack on something. And some of these habits are very cultural. So culturally, the fastest food in the morning that's acceptable, that's still considered healthy, is yogurt. And there's good quality availability of quality. So these are all the kinds of things that we make a decision on that we don't realize we're making decisions on. And then for lunch, it seems like there's a gathering, social gathering with a colleague, work colleagues, available at the house, whatever it is that's healthy that people will eat. And then for dinner, like something quick and healthy, leftovers, whatever that's available. So these are sort of like the biggest reasons that you are individually different. You're making your decisions based on your surroundings. So this gives you an idea why we make those decisions, and it also gives you an idea that some of these decisions are so like you don't think about it. It's very split second. And I'll come back to this, but when we make about 200 decisions a day related to food, where we purchase it, what we decide, how much to eat, what goes good together. So when you guys did the exercise, it gives you an idea of how you make your decisions. So so here the biggest factor was time use, social gathering, what's available, healthy, quality, those are the kind of things. And for some people it varies. These are called drivers of food choice. They vary person to person, family to family, like those Eurocultural and social norms. So when we did this exercise in Laos, when we did the workshop, we saw that there was an economic component, like sometimes it was closest, it was available, sometimes free food. If there's free food at the lunch gathering or something, you will eat it. Economic in terms of time use, fast, convenient. Those are all the reasons. So we generally call them economic in terms of resources. And then social, like family, or you have, for example, fish without bones or smaller bones. These are the kind of social things that we like. If you're eating with your family, you have to be concerned about other people's food choice in your family, or if you're eating with your colleague, you're sharing, so you have to be considerate. So these are the kind of economic, social, and cultural aspects, and physical aspects as well, that we make decisions on. And it's like here we didn't do it by gender, but it's also very highly gendered as well. So 200 decisions a day, a lot. And here's Jerry letting us, stopping us from eating candy. So you can see, like, he's like the big regulation person, and he's stopping us. So that's the only way we'll stop eating candy, or else or else if it's in your food environment, you're more likely to choose. So this was a study. I'll just talk a little bit about some of these, what other studies have found in terms of food choice and stuff. So this was a study conducted among mothers in preschool with preschool children, and you can kind of see some of these quotes. It was a qualitative study, and how they make how mothers shape food choice for their children. So here's a quote that says basically, I have to scream and scold at my child before he eats some food. I have to cut the pork and beef into tiny pieces, mix it in his rice so he doesn't know, then he'll eat it. How many of us has experienced that? For those with kids, this is the norm for me every day. I don't scream, I just get upset. It's just the eating is a very sometimes it's tense, especially when you have preschoolers. There's 1 week they won't eat it, the next week they want something else, and it's just very it's you have to go by the choices of your child. So here's another mother who's saying that, you know, by the time they're eaten, I don't have time for myself. I have late night dinner. So the food choice of your family, of your kids, if you have older people, these are all the things that affect us that we don't think about that as decisions, but those are the things that really cause long-term habits that we have. So some of these are very, very set and it's hard to change. And this is one of the reasons why diets are hard to change. Not hard to change, they're like, you know, they take a lot of thinking about all the things that affect us. It's not just one person changes, you know, in a family, you have a whole family to worry about, even if you're trying to change. And this is a kind of really nice study that really looks at, like, you know, what is mom wants, you know, the child to have nutritious, safe food, so the child can grow. But then there's all these constraints, the financial constraint, the child mood, temperament. Sometimes they don't eat, sometimes they play with it. And then these kind of interactions cause those food choice behaviors, you know, over a period of time. So let me see. And this was like the key messages from this paper, and I have all these slides so you can kind of take a look at. You can take a look at it later on the second. And then this is another paper, I think was also in Vietnam, that was kind of looking at, you know, and it kind of captured everything nicely. You know, you have the intra-generation, intra-household, urbanization, food environments have changed. That's the markets have changed. What kind of foods we have has changed. We're trying to balance what looks safe for us, what is safe, and household preferences. So all of these things interact. And that was like the major connecting like themes that they found in their drivers of food choice study. And if you look at, like, you know, this is Vietnam, but this sort of thing is very relevant even, like, you know, in the US and other contexts as well, because you're feeding your family, you have the same sort of push-pull factors. You have to think about what's available, what's convenient, what's affordable. And the only thing that changes is the food environment. So your choices are in some ways are shaped by your food environment that I was talking about earlier. Let me come back to this a bit. So now I'm just going to give you kind of a bigger picture why we should care, and I know why we should care, because of the burden, blah blah blah. But from a global level, like, diets are it's caused such a big wave at least in the last 10 years. There's a big call for agri-food system transformation. You know, foods are supposed to nourishous. You know, that's the main goal of a food system, is to have healthy food that's accessible, that's affordable. But a lot of people can't, you know,
Hi, Sherry or Kelly or Dr. Ratapon, who's moderating. Ramya is going to try and rejoin by audio, and maybe I can share her PDF for her. There seems to be some connection challenge.
Hi, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I've never had this happen. My computer just says it doesn't have any network, no internet.
I can share screen if the host will allow me to do share screening. I can share the PDF if that's okay.
Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah. I just flipped the background, so the background will come first. So it should be pretty. Apologies.
Let me actually go to the right page.
Oh, that's actually good. That's actually good. No, because I flipped the presentation a bit, so I end with the background.
Okay, should I do this button? Is this good?
Yeah, I mean it's fine for me. I'm on the phone, so it's okay if it's okay with everybody else.
Okay, just tell me next slide.
Okay, so next slide. And this is just a slide that shows that the prevalence of stunting and anemia, both among children under 5 and women of reproductive age in Laos, and it's pretty high. So just to like bring this back to Laos context, we do see very high nutrition diseases. Next slide. So earlier I mentioned this I guess the phrase nutrition transition, which is basically talks about how how we change from being a hunter-gatherer to this sort of having like this agriculture, this monoculture of food. We had famines, and then there's the famines are going down. We're having less kids. That's part of the whole and epidemiology and demographic transitions. And then most of the countries are currently in pattern 5, where we're seeing a lot of chronic disease. So this is the stage, where you're seeing like, hypertension, diabetes. So there's a lot of metabolic diseases. So currently we're in this pattern where we're eating a lot of sugary, sweet beverages, there's increased fat, there's ultra-processed food, and our physical activity, at least compared to 20 or 30 years ago, has really lowered. So this is where we are right now. Most of the countries are getting to pattern 4, are already there for the US, for example. What we ideally want is pattern 5, which is, shift towards more healthy food, drinking water, more like fiber rich, and having more nutritious food in the diet that really prevents communicable diseases, not just reduces it, but really prevents it from happening. So that's actually ideally what all countries, for example, it'd be nice if they even skip pattern 4 and get to pattern 5. Next slide, please. This kind of talks about, and a lot of the people, lot of in the chat, whether they eat prepared food. So this table gives you an overview of the bigger shifts that's been happening in Southern and Eastern Africa. But I actually really like it because it's very relevant. So if you look at, it's relevant globally. So if you look at who buys meals away from home, traditionally, everybody ate at home for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you work in the farm, especially, you just eat what you cooked in the farm. And then once people started migrating, most likely men and students, they started eating out. So we see that like students, they eat outside at the cafeteria. And then when women started working outside the home, that's when you see a big shift in sort of like foods for convenience, that's quick, because of the social role that women play in terms of preparing and having food. So this part alone has played a huge impact in terms of household diets. And then the whole family starts to eat outside. So this is kind of tells you like, Laos is probably the last 2 or 3 stages, but you know, if you look at a lot of the case in America, you'll start to see like most women or men and women are working outside. There's a lot of food purchased, and not just like food purchase that you buy from the grocery store, more like prepared foods and stuff. Next slide, please. I'm so sorry, I'm back again. Thank you. So urbanization plays a big role in urban, like, you know, in changes in dietary shifts and in the nutrition transition. So if you look at, this is on the y-axis is the percent of urban population, and this is looking at trends over time by individual countries. If you look at like, you know, a lot of the rural or food systems or emerging food systems, most of the country is considered, I guess, rural. Only 30 to 40% are really considered urban. Next slide, please. So the population that's living in rural, the percent of population that's globally living in peak area has, it's percent of population living in the rural area has peaked. So now globally, we have more people living in urban centers. So this one says it's about 30 to 50%, but in reality, next slide, please. In reality, most rural people, like, or even when we think about rural, they're not really remote or living in hinterlands or really, really far away. They are very close to cities. So this is a really nice work that was done by André Cattaneo. He looked at like how far people are actually to smaller cities, secondary towns, intermediate towns, and larger towns. And what he found was that basically people are not rural anymore. They actually have access to markets, services, and other things. What that really means is that, you know, even in these remote areas, or even in these rural areas that we think as rural, people are still being exposed to a lot of food marketing, and it also means that people do have access to, like, you know, chips and sugary snacks and sodas and drinks. So it's not very binary. It's not like rural urban, like there's a strong cutoff like it used to be. Right now what you're saying is like even in rural areas people have markets where there's a sort of this access, and there's a lot of exposure to food marketing, and that's a big concern as well. So in these smaller secondary cities and towns, do they have economic access to buy healthy food? So that's the question that remains to be answered. Most likely not. And that's largely because cities is where you see full-time wage employments, all the, you know, like the employment is more full-time, and it's as the formal employment, that's the word I'm looking for. So in the secondary cities and towns, you see a lot more informal economy. So it really, it's an area that's kind of been like a lot of policy people are studying how to improve employment and income, social protection, how to like improve in economic access to nutritious foods, because nutritious and healthy food are expensive compared to unhealthy food. So the idea is that if we increase the economic access, that people will have the choice to make towards healthy food. But it's not just about having the economic access for making those choices. It's also about having a food environment that enables you to make those choices. Next slide, please. Next slide. Sorry. We'll just get this one. I'll just go to the with Laos. Next one, please. Next one. Okay, so real quick before we end, I'm curious what percent of Laos is rural, and then we'll see what percent are actually living closer to urban catchment areas. Feel free to unmute or feel free to put it in the chat. I'm going to try to see. Oh, I can see chat. So take a wild guess. Don't Google. I realize we're on the phone and people could totally wonder what percent of Laos is rural. Take a guess. Any guesses? 70%, 60%, 40%. Pick your favorite number. 60%. Okay. There. Anybody else? 70. Okay. 68. Okay. 90. Wow. Okay. So next slide, please. So 64% is rural, and it's actually in the last 20 years, they've gone down quite a bit. 80 probably in 2000, but it's really, really gone down. So according to this binary indicator, this urban rural indicator, 64% or 65% are rural. But next slide, please. When you actually look at it, who is actually in the remote rural areas? It's this last bar at the bottom. It's only 21%. So it's not 60%. So most people, if you look at they live within 2 to 3 hours of smaller towns or intermediary cities. They live in the peri-urban area. So you're really seeing people who have more access to the larger towns that live around the surrounding areas. Only 20 to 25% of the people are actually what we think when we say rural, which has huge implications for economic policies, nutrition policies, as well as doing agricultural transformation. So it's something to keep in mind as when we think about rural, there's people don't have access, but that's actually really rapidly changing. One of the things that to remember or what's really, I find it very interesting is that, what took food system changes, for example, the US for it to go from for the first grocery store to supermarkets everywhere, it took 50 to 80 years. In a lot of the places in Southeast Asia and even Eastern Southern Africa, it's happening in a matter of 20 to 30 years. So it's very, very, very rapid. Not even generations, within a single, not even intergenerations, it's happening within our own watch. So, I mean, that has a large implications for diets are rapidly shifting, and they're more ultra-processed food, more animal source protein. So it's rapidly shifting, and that has really big implications for health burden, and if health systems can really have the capacity to prevent and treat that sort of health burden. I'll just end it there. But I have that kind of comes to close to an hour, and I'm kind of curious if anybody has any questions about what I presented. I'm so sorry for all the internet trouble. And thank you so much, Alupa, for sharing the screen. Oh, I see in the chat. Was it surprising to anybody that only 20% are actually remote or live in the hinterlands, super rural areas? Okay, I guess this must be a stellar and amazing talk, but no one has any questions. Feel free to email me if you have it, if something comes up later as well. Over to you, Jerry and Dr. Ratapal.
เจ้าบรรดาท่านมีอันคำถามยังบ่เนาะที่ว่าจะแชร์นำเพิ่นพวกน้องมีคำถามยังบ่ผู้เข้าร่วมนะให้มีคำถามสามารถอันน่ะเปิดใหม่หรือว่าเขียนอยู่ในแชทได้มิดแปลว่าบ่มีอันคือเห็นอันน่ะนิรุปาเพิ่นถามคำถามว่าอันน่ะ How does this food environment point of view help us develop better intervention and policy เพิ่นถามparticipant เหรอเพิ่นจะให้รำยาตอบให้แม่นบ่เพื่อว่าจะเป็นบทเรียนให้แก่
Is that question for me or is that for
It's for Ramya, actually.
Okay. Okay.
Would love to hear her insight.
Yeah, no, I think actually there's I'm just writing a report on this, but what we see in the rural areas, at least, the food environments are changing. What that says is that we need more like more governance and more regulation at that level. Especially like, you know, they're calling this phenomenon like rural urbanization. So urbanization is not even a factor anymore, which is quite interesting. You don't need to urbanize for you to have a change in dietary shifts. You can actually stay in the same place because markets and food environments are changing. In terms of policies, I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities to actually have a positive impact on livelihoods, like the people selling more nutritious foods. There's a lot of nudge. There's a really strong momentum since like the UN Food Summit, and there's actually a benchmarking conference or something next year. So people are really thinking about it, and there's a lot of energy towards and a lot of political, I don't know. I do think it's not like, you know, there's a place where you can do like individual nutrition education that might be helpful, but here I think the sort of food environment point of view, it really tells us like, you know, the way we make our choices, this interaction between like our choice and then the architecture, like the food environment architecture. So when you have a food environment that's like 90% unhealthy, it really like, you know, all of your choices are not, you know, is most likely going to be higher probability of having unhealthy foods. It's also I mean, I think, and okay, I see another question come up. And I just don't know. I mean, Nilupa, we've talked about this. I just don't know if it's feasible for like everyone to cook healthy food every day. I think we really need to have like more healthy prepared food as like the norm. Like if someone prepares like healthy food every day, I would totally eat out or buy that rather than, but it's right now healthy food is really unaffordable. So we have to really think about what does healthy prepared food look like, and you know, and preparation is time use, preparation is kitchen, preparation is water and fuel. In a lot of settings, those are all scarce. It's all becoming scarce resource. So it's really the healthy cafeterias or healthy kitchens, community kitchens, or maybe part of that narrative. I don't know. Can you expand a bit more? So Priyanka asks, can you expand a bit more when you say we need food environment, that how do we get those food environment, especially, time, I think there's some social norms that we need to change. And I actually think pandemic was really great for that because it kind of reset people's like priorities because when people started valuing their time and especially like with remote working, I actually think there could be a lot of advantage or there's a lot of ways to repurpose the social norms since with the remote work. Like now remote work has become kind of the norm or people, it's like, and you are saving time. There's opportunities to be more physically active. There's opportunities for the food environment to also, cater to that. Like, people want to prepare more food at home, and I there's a lot of the food environment enabling. So I think we, in terms of like, the unhealthy foods that like ship has sailed in terms, like we can make individual or family or nutrition education as a thing. That one, to have a healthy food environment, you really need to regulate all the unhealthy foods. But for the healthy foods, you can actually promote production. So I didn't show in the slide, but there's a paper by Ashbury, which basically looks at food, like, food productions are not really aligned with food-based dietary guidelines. So we produce excess sugar and staples and red meat that are not aligned to the food-based dietary guidelines of each country. So one of the thinking is that like perhaps sell more subsidies to these like legumes or other nutritious foods. So those are some of the ways that there's some thinking around that and movement in policy like people are concerning for that. And I think it's also a multi-sectoral thing, not to use that word. It is, there's a bit of education plays a role. Agriculture, like, if you look, it's Ministry of Agriculture has to say, okay, we're going to promote policies and subsidies towards nutritious foods. And then like economic activities should be like, what are sort of economic activities that you can promote, livelihoods that you can promote for like, for prepared nutritious foods. So there's a lot of momentum and movement of making it more multi-sectoral, like urban planning, changing the built environments a bit so that we can walk or make things more, walkable and stuff. It's more on the physical activity end. Sorry, I'm rambling on. Any other questions?
I think there's a hand raised from someone. I think go ahead and ask your question.
ก็เชิญเลยสมพร
เจ้าอันสบายดี
สมพร
ขอ
เว้า
เป็น
ภาษาลาวเจ้า
โดยขอบอกภาษาลาวอันน่ะอาจารย์บ่แม่นเป็นคำถามแต่ก็เป็นการแลกเปลี่ยนที่ว่าไปเจอมานะอาจารย์นะเพื่อว่าอาจจะมีโปรเจกต์ดีๆหรือบทเรียนดีๆนำเสนอในอนาคตเพราะว่าตามที่อิงตามคำถามของนิลุป้าแล้วก็อีกผู้นึงที่เพิ่นถามอยู่ในหั่นน้องได้ไปเจอโปรเจกต์ตัวนึงของกสิกรรมเฮ็ดนะอาจารย์มันบ่แม่นแต่ว่าผู้ช่วยว่าเฮาสามารถเลือกได้อยู่เขตห่างไกลซอกลีรูแอเรียบ่หรือเออร์เบิร์นมันก็แตกต่างกันที่เข้าถึงแต่ว่าการที่จะเลือกอาหารที่ดีนะมันก็ยังบ่ได้แต่ว่าน้องคิดว่าเขาเจ้าหั่นน่ะก็อยากกินอาหารที่ดีแต่การเข้าถึงหรือการที่มีความรู้เรื่องการกินนี่ก็ยังบ่ได้ดีเช่นว่าเนาะกสิกรรมเพิ่นให้เงิน1ล้านสำหรับแม่ลูกอ่อนที่ต่ำกว่า2ปีแล้วตัวนี้เป็นโครงการที่ดีหลายเนาะที่ว่าไปแลกเปลี่ยนมาแล้วเห็นเขาเจ้าว่าได้มีสวนครัวกินตลอดปีแล้วก็ได้มีเลี้ยงสัตว์เลี้ยงกบแต่ก่อนเขาเจ้าบ่ฮู้เรื่องนี้เลยอันนี้แม่นได้ไปสัมภาษณ์อยู่เมืองคำของเสียงขวางคณะอาจารย์แล้วเฮ็ดให้เขาเจ้ามีอาหารเข้าถึงอาหารได้ฉะนั้นคันว่า intervention หรือ policy ใดที่ดีน่ะน้องว่าคือถอดถอนบทเรียนจากโปรเจกต์ตัวนี้นะเขาสามารถจะช่วยเรื่องโภชนาการหรือว่าการเข้าถึงอาหารบ่เฝ้าเว้าถึงว่าอาหารที่มีสุขภาพดีเทื่อก่อนให้เข้าถึงอาหารที่ควรหมู่คณะอาจารย์มันก็ยังเป็นไปที่ว่ายากอยู่บ้านเฮาโดยอันนี้มันขอแลกเปลี่ยนเนาะเช่นว่าคำถามก็ถือว่าเพิ่นมาก็ถือว่า ดีหลายได้ความรู้หลายเจ้าขอบใจ
พ่อมีสัมภาษณ์ให้อีกบ่หรือว่ามียังสิสนทนาอีกบ่คือสิบ่มีแล้วติno more feedback เนาะบ่มีไผถามหยังแล้วเนาะแล้วก็คันบ่มีหยังแล้วพวกเฮาก็ขอขอบใจดร.รัมยาเนาะที่ว่าเพิ่นได้ถ้าว่าพวกเฮาบ่มีหยังแล้วเฮาก็ขอบใจดร.รัมยาที่ว่าเพิ่นได้มาให้ความรู้แก่พวกเฮาเกี่ยวกับเรื่องสภาพแวดล้อมของอาหารเนาะแล้วก็ขอโทษหลายๆที่ว่าอินเทอร์เน็ตมื้อนี้ก็จักเป็นหยังเนาะอยู่นี่มันก็มีปัญหาคือกันคักวัดคักตอนแล้วก็ขอบใจผู้แปลภาษาเพิ่นเนาะที่ว่าได้พยายามแปลให้เฮาเข้าใจแล้วก็ขอบใจหลายๆแล้วก็ขอบใจผู้เข้าร่วมทุกท่านเนาะที่ว่าได้มาเข้าร่วมเนาะแล้วก็พบกันใหม่ในเดือนหน้าเนาะคำคิดคำเห็นของท่านน่าจะมีประโยชน์ที่สุดถ้าว่ามีหยังก็ส่งฟีดแบ็กมาให้พวกเฮาเนาะพวกเฮาจะได้ปรับปรุงให้มันดีขึ้นแล้วต่อไปนี้ช่วงระยะนี้แม่นพวกเฮาจะเชื้อเชิญบรรดาศาสตราจารย์หรือว่าอาจารย์จากมหาวิทยาลัยเพอร์ดูกับอินเดียนาหรือว่าจากสหรัฐอเมริกาแต่ต่อไปนี้เฮาก็จะได้เชื้อเชิญบรรดาอาจารย์ต่างๆที่ว่าเพิ่นได้เฮ็ดการค้นคว้าหรือว่ามีบทเรียนเกี่ยวกับโภชนาการอยู่ในหลักของพวกเฮาเนาะพวกเฮาก็จะได้เฮ็ดทุกๆเดือนซึ่งว่าทางศูนย์โภชนาการจึงจะเป็นหลักซึ่งว่าปัจจุบันนี้เพิ่นก็ได้วางอยู่ในแผนเพิ่นไว้แล้วเนาะเอามาฮอดนี้ถ้าว่าบ่มีหยังพวกเฮาก็จะได้ปิดการสัมมนาของพวกเฮาในมื้อนี้เนาะก็ขอขอบใจหลายๆขอบใจทุกอย่างทุกท่านเนาะขอบใจรัมยาเนาะแล้วก็โปรเฟสเซอร์เจอรี่แล้วก็ทีมงานของเพิ่นเนาะขอบใจหลายๆ